Hi, my name is Jeremy, this is Red Beans Recording, and in front of us we have the new updated circuit tracks. This represents the evolution of the Novation Circuit, a device that I featured quite a bit on my channel. Novation asked me to make some factory content for this that will be shipping with the device, hopefully. 8 projects that I've made that will show off what the device can do. And that's cool. So what's going on with this? Well, let's talk about what's really obvious. There's sort of a new layout here. These now are marked with what could be considered suggestions for them. This is a new thing. The previous macro knobs were not marked. We now have 2 MIDI tracks. We still have the classic 2 synth tracks, 4 drum sample tracks. All of the firmware stuff that was in the original circuit, like sample flipping and all that, has been included and refined. There is an expanded memory, and one of the coolest things that's now happened is instead of just having like your projects, like your sessions that you make from the samples and synth presets that you have loaded in here, if you hit Shift Projects, these are now packs. You can actually have multiple packs on the circuit all at once. So you can flip between different packs for different things, which is just wild. A lot of functionality built in there. Has a built-in battery. It has stereo out, 3 MIDI jacks, in, out, through. There is a sync in and out, a headphone, inputs, and a micro SD card now. So lots of good shit to be had here. There will be an updated version of components with some new bells and whistles as well, including what I think to be an updated editor for the synth engine. A lot of the functions that were added to this original circuit have now been brought up into the forefront and made really accessible. So let's make a new project, and I'll just kind of walk you through like making a pattern or something like that. So project, so this is now blank over here. The first thing to note is in the original circuit, if you wanted to have any kind of sense of a metronome, you had to like set hi-hats down or something, like, or some kind of like drum track down to get a sense of the tempo because there was no metronome. There is a metronome now. If I hit Shift Click or Shift Clear, we now get a metronome. Now, I am filming this in sort of late October, and I'm going to suggest a couple things to Novation that hopefully make it into the final here. And one of them is to make a click that actually changes on the downbeat. It's all the same, and there's no way to tell what the downbeat is. I think a lot of us who use digital audio workstations are used to having a slightly higher pitched click on the beginning of a bar. So that's something that I hope we can get. So metronome in the year of our Lord 2021 in January. Has this been updated? No, still just the same tone. So for the synth engines, you still get the ability to play on the keyboard here. You can change your scale modes. So there's all these scale modes in here. I've been using chromatic a lot in the context of using my key step plugged in via MIDI to play and record the note stuff in there because it's just a little easier for me to deal with the keyboard than it is with this, but totally playable. That's kind of cool. All right, so let's go ahead and enter some notes here. I'm going to go over to the synth here. And let's go ahead and record something. Our click is on, so let's go ahead and I'm going to change the tempo real quick and also show you that we have access to swing. If we hit tempo and swing, this becomes tempo, and we're going to go into about a 100, and this becomes swing. So they're now built into the same menu, which is actually pretty cool. So let's go ahead and record some notes. You have heard it quantize my terrible performance. Quantization can be turned on and off by holding Shift and doing this. When it's blue, it's quantizing the input, and when it is not blue, it is not quantizing. So you can do unquantized recording, which is cool. I've been using that a bunch in my demo packs because it's nice to just be able to kind of play. So there's our super awesome bass line. 16 steps. What if we wanted that to be longer? Well, if we press this 116, 1732 thing, we immediately get another 16 steps. And we're going to record to those immediately. So first 16, now we hit 16 more. That's pretty cool. You can jump back and forth between them like this to do editing. And if you want to stay on one page and have it play, you can do this view lock thing. So I can hold Shift and view lock, and now it stays on this page, so I can make adjustments there. which is pretty cool. So before we get into some of the other pattern features we have here, I want to show you how automation works. When you want to draw automation in Ableton or something like that, you go into automation view and you have a lane for each parameter you want to automate. So wherever you leave that lane is where it stays. Wherever that parameter stays. And the circuit's very similar to that. You always got to keep in mind what the last thing you did is what's going to stay. So let's go ahead and try adding some automation here. There's a couple ways we can do it. We can obviously record. So let's find a good thing to record. So I hit record. You can see that now sort of pulsing to show our automation. Let's do something else. See how it stayed up after I clicked it? So the other way that we can do this is by locking parameters to particular steps. So let's show off the way I do that, because honestly, it was a little confusing to me because I kept on deleting notes. If I hit record and I hold down one of these notes, I can turn these knobs and play around with the parameters and lock a set of parameters to that step, and they will continue from that point on at whatever value I have locked there until they hit another point of automation. If I hit velocity here, I can go in here and not delete any notes. So that I realize that that's sort of like the trick. Don't be in note mode when you want to step lock any of this parameter stuff. So I'm going to take this down, take the resonance up. You can just ham on it and, go to the next one if you want. The cool thing is you can also drop automation in between notes. So if anything has like a holdover between things like a pad, you can, or if it's got like a gate value that's longer than a single cell, then you can do automation to it in the middle of things, which is really, really cool. Because I adjusted my amp envelope, my first note here is really short. I'm gonna make that longer. Okay, cool. So that is a sequence. Some other stuff that we have. Gate can be addressed for each note. So if you hit gate mode here, you will have the ability to change the gate from any one of the 1 steps to the whole grid. I think you can't go into the next set of steps. So only 1 through 16 or only 17 through 32. But this is really, really useful if you're like step sequencing and you need to change the gate of something, or if you kind of fucked up recording and you need to change the gate of something. So you can see that there's these, main button things, and then underneath there is a another name. So there's 2 ways to get to this stuff. If you click these twice, you scroll through each one of these options. So for instance, gate, microstep, pattern settings, probability, velocity, note, expand, stuff like that. You can also hit shift and get there, which is really, really nice. So microstep, what is it? It's a form of ratcheting. So better with drums. I'll show you that in a second. Probability. This is one of my favorite things. We'll get to pattern settings in a second, but probability is such a huge thing to have included on this. I am just a gigantic fan of probability and making patterns that have more interest. So what you can do is when you're in probability, any one of these steps, you click it, and here's the range of probability that you have. If I start taking some of this down, it will change the chance that this note will hit. So we'll do the same. We'll just make all of our hits probable, relatively probable. So check it now. Now we have a probabilistic sequence. In pattern settings, I can change the step value. So right now it's a 16th note. If I click this, it becomes an 8th note. And if I click this, it becomes a quarter note. So check that out. So it's a way to get like tons of extra length out of your pattern. Unfortunately, you do lose the resolution in grid mode, but you don't lose it in non-quantized recording. Triplet values, and then you can go really fast over here. So that's cool. You can also change the pattern length to non-4/4 patterns. So you can get like sort of, not polyrhythms, but different lengthed patterns that are not traditional. So remember, like clicking this, I can go between 16 steps and 32 steps. If I click here, the pattern will now end at step 30 as opposed to 32, and will constantly be cycling off of the grid. Which is super cool. Let's go over to our drums and let's add ourselves a kick drum. So that's locking a sample to a trig. Let me show off real quick what happens when you don't lock it. So add some kicks. You can see my kick right there. Now, if I wanted to add another sample to this and I start clicking around, it's just changed that to that sample. So you really want to lock samples to their trigs. Sample flipping, which was introduced at some point during the firmware update cycle for the original circuit, has been greatly improved, and now I can just go and flip samples as much as I want. I can just pick a sample and add it, which is just fantastic. Let's talk about sidechaining a little bit, because I want to sidechain this. So effects and sidechain, they've been added to the same sort of thingy thing. So I'll hit effects once. This is our reverb and delay. We'll get to that in just a second. Hit this. Now we're in sidechain. Here's synth 1. Here's synth 2. You can pick from 1, 2, 3, 4 of the drums in terms of what the sidechain source is going to be, which is cool. So let's go ahead and start increasing the sidechain on synth 1. It's going to pull from that kick drum we put on drum 1. We don't need our click anymore. Let's go back to FX and add some effects to this. I think this is the exact same reverb and delay engine that we had before in the circuit. So let's go ahead and just add some reverb and delay. The way that this works now is by clicking the delay. I get access to delay up here. You'll see these change color as I click between the things. Let's go ahead and add some delay and some reverb. Okay, let's go to synth 2 and add some stuff. We're going to add a longer thing here. One thing to note, there is now a internal compressor on this. I'm not sure if that was part of the original circuit. In the version that I have right now, I do find it to be a little temperamental. It seems to try to adapt to whatever is being played, and sometimes I can hear it alias. Sometimes I can hear some odd digital sort of like almost distortion. Like after the stuff plays, like there's a gate happening, a noise gate. Also, sometimes I feel like things clip, like I'll load different projects and sometimes they'll be like way too loud and sometimes they won't be. Kind of a little confusing. I'm going to talk to Novation about what's going on with that. Okay, that sounds like shit. Cool. All right, so let's go into our pattern settings. Let's change this to those quarter notes, and let's record over a quarter note thing here. All right, so let's go ahead and adjust our gate. Add some sidechain. Microstep. Let's talk about microstep. This is ratcheting. So I'm going to go ahead and find a nice little hi-hat. I have some bad news about the sample section. They did not implement a 1 volt per octave, so to speak, quantized pitch thing for the samples. Like, a lot of people seem to want that, including myself. So unfortunately, this is still that smooth sort of like really hard to dial in pitch thing. It is what it is. I don't know why they didn't do it, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and give ourselves some hi-hats. We're also going to change the velocities and the microstep. So first, let's do microstep. This one. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and fuck with some velocity a bit. Here's our velocity. This is available for all the drum engines and the synth engines. I'm going to make these two like this. Everything but that's not offbeat. Whoops. I'm going to do like this. Patterns. So we have two MIDI tracks now, which are right here. Here is our normal sort of pattern view. They have changed up the way that this works too in some interesting ways. So 4, 4. So each instrument has 8 patterns available to it. I can still, move around and launch patterns like this. Let's go ahead and copy. Well, we'll just leave our drums up here and we'll go ahead and record something new on each one of our tracks, okay? So I'm going to parameter lock, or lock the settings I want to this first step, so that when I get to this pattern, the synth will sound the way I want to. So hit velocity. And I'm going to add some little probabilistic notes here and here. So probability about mid right there. Do another one right here. Great, let's go over our synths too. We're going to go to our pattern settings, make this slow. All right, let's go into our drums and let's make a variation on our drums. Let's go into our kick and add probability to this friend right here. Probability down. Let's go ahead and record some toms, and we're going to do it non-quantized so that I can make this long. Let me change the velocity of these. Well, that was real bad. It seems to be a little hit and miss as to whether or not the non-quantized sort of like off-grid stuff is going to be really messy or not. I haven't quite figured out what's going on with it. Swing seems to really mess it up, so I'll talk to Novation and see what's up with that. I'm not sure if it's a bug or a feature, honestly. Okay, so one of the other things I wanted to test was whether or not the non-quantized recording timing had improved, especially with swing involved. There was a little bit of weirdness. So, this could still be fixed by the time this comes out, but as of, what is it today? It's like mid-January. This is what's going on. So I have a swinged beat, and I have synth 1 set to a longer pattern, and I have record quantize off. So let's go ahead and record something and see what's up. I'll try to play this on beat as possible. So something funky is still going on there. That's unfortunate, but hopefully it'll be fixed by the time it comes out. So let's go back into pattern settings. Let's make these eighth notes. Let's make this a double thing. And let's go into page 2 here. And we're going to go. All right, I'm going to make one more synth pattern, and I'm going to show you scenes. We can still do pattern locking like you could in the previous thing, like where like if I go like this, and then this and this, they will play one after each other. So those are going back and forth between that, but there's a much better way now called scenes, and that's what we're going to talk about. But first, I need a little bit more fodder. So let's go ahead and make a couple more patterns. Let's get some micro steps in there. Okay, scenes, what are they? Well, let's say I want this to be a scene. Let's go ahead and turn that off. Let's just do this. Let's not have our hi-hat. I'm going to go to Mixer. Here are your scenes down here. If I hit Shift and this, I have now assigned that scene to that. So that series of patterns will play when I press that. Now, as of the time of recording this, there is no way to tell by looking at this if you have put a scene on one of these. And I really hope that I can convince Novation to fix that. Just like a slight color on here. Hey, what up? It's your boy Future Jeremy here. I'm here to tell you that they added visual feedback for the scenes thing here that I was talking about. So let me just show you that real quick. Go into patterns. I will pick some patterns just randomly and just do that, you know. And I'll go to Mixer and I'll hit Shift that, and you'll see it stays lit up now. So nice. We actually know where we have put a scene. So nice job, Novation. So if I chain these two scenes together by pressing them, it switched on over to the other scene as soon as this one had exhausted the pattern lengths that are in it. There's a trick to that I found. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the pattern length on this so that it's a little bit more normal because I don't want it to do weird things to my thing. So what I have been doing is if I want this scene to play for longer than the patterns that are currently playing in it, I will go into my patterns and I will sacrifice a pattern down here to being long, like making it quarter notes like that. So now it's long, so it'll play that long. Now I need it actually to be on synth 2 because that's what I have nothing on. So pattern settings, quarter notes. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to make my pattern again. So I want these to play. So shift there. Now I have added that to that thing. It's impossible to tell, but it's there. My second pattern, I'll have that. My next scene, let's go into our patterns and figure something out. That sounds good. Mixer now, because I have no idea which I last added it to, I have to remember. So I think it's MIDI 2. So I'm going to add those there. Here, I want... Let's do that a couple times. Shit, what did I just leave it off at? Drum 2. So patterns, boop, boop. Mixer, drum 2 and 3. So that should work. And there you have scenes, a way that you can chain your stuff together and then, you know, perform it up here if you want, do all kinds of stuff like that. There are a couple other features I can show off real quick. We have pattern mutate. So let's go ahead and pick a pattern. We're going to just go over here. So you can see mutate right here. Let's go into our synth 1 pattern, which is going to be the most obvious. So an easy way to create variations on your patterns. It does seem to be destructive. I do not know how to undo it. So be careful with the mutate button. Make copies if you want. I'll make sure I haven't missed anything. We still have our master filter. Sounds good as ever. All in all, a really nice update for the Novation Circuit. My complaints about it at the moment, as of this video, and future Jeremy will chime in if these have been updated, is one, the complete lack of visual feedback on our scene section here. Also, I really don't like this new finish. Other than that, I think this is a really fantastic update to the circuit. You get the ability to switch between packs, which is huge. Expanded memory for lots of things. The probability is huge. I do appreciate that they've attempted to standardize a bit these controls up here. I think that people that are now making synthesizer packs for this will be able to sort of like help focus their energy on these kinds of things. That said, within the presets here, there is still a lot of variation as to what exactly these mean. You know, oscillator and oscillator mod can mean a lot of different things. I am admittedly disappointed we do not have the ability to properly and easily record our and automate our samples with pitch. I think that would be a really, really useful and good thing. I do like the pattern setting stuffs. I like how everything is really, really easy. By the time I had played with this for a couple days and was working on my patterns, I felt really, really comfortable with it and was moving really, really fast with it. And that's really, really cool. I do not know what price this will be out at. I hope that it is comparative to the original circuit, because I think that was a pretty good deal. And with, you know, the micro SD card, built-in battery, yes, and real MIDI DINs and an input and the MIDI tracks, this does sort of become like a little hub, which is neat, because all the stuff that we had access to, pattern permutation stuff with probability and micro steps and all that, those apply to those as well. So anyways, thanks for watching. I hope that most of my content that I made for this makes it onto the circuit unmolested. We'll see. I have no idea. And I hope that the world is not aflame in a fiery fireball of some kind, because that's also a possibility at this point. Oh, well, yeah. Okay. Anyways, thanks for watching. My name is Jeremy. This is Red Means Recording, and I hope you have the day that is wonderful. Goodbye.